I will get pain if I do that. And today I'm walking without pain.
So you've come to the point now where are you able to deal with the pain, or you don't have the pain, or is it a mixture of both?
I don't have the pain anymore.
On Stories of Self, we go on journeys into the lives of ourselves and others. We see how stories connect, how they diverge, and how we can create our worlds and solve our problems. This is the real-life remix of storytelling, which is so often stranger than fiction. So come and sit around the fire, chill by the ocean, or get a coffee with me, as I delve into the stories of self that make, break, and remake us. Some stories are dramatic, some are serene, some will magically mirror you, and some will be delightfully different. I'm your host, Katie Reeve-Arnold, and this is Stories of Self.
Hey everybody, so today I'm here with Susanne Schmid, and she's an author and a coach. And today what I thought we would talk about is looking at pain and the topic of how we feel pain, how we experience pain, and chronic pain in our life. Something that's become all too common in our world. I think most of us would put our hand up and say we've got some experience with pain, or we've got some kind of ongoing issue or element of pain in our lives that we're dealing with. So, Susanne, how about you? How do you come to be an expert on this topic?
Katie, for the first, thank you for the invitation to
it's great
this
to have you
podcast. How I came into that topic, I had a bad car accident at the age of 9 years. And both of my legs has been broken. A lot of effects to my body followed in the next years. And so I landed in chronic pain for more than 20 years.
Wow, it's a long time.
It's a long time, but it's past.
That's amazing. And so how did you learn to deal with that pain? How did you work through that pain to actually make it become part of the past rather than the ongoing problem it must have been for the 20 years?
In my experience, or when I look back, the way first turned into pain. I did many steps, not in awareness, but I did them to get into chronic pain. And then it has been really hard. It took me many years to get out of them. But it was possible. And for example, one step was to get aware of my expectations. For example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So becoming aware of your expectations. So you're talking about actually almost kind of creating that ongoing pain for yourself first, is it? From a pain that happened to you, you then brought that into a more ongoing thing through not necessarily choices you ever knew or wanted to make, but through things you did accidentally. And then you picked this approach, and you worked hard on this approach to actually find your way out of that ongoing chronic repetition of the issue and compounding of the issue. So you're saying by kind of noticing and taking a different approach to it, a new approach to it, you were able to somehow break a cycle that had been ongoing for 2 decades.
For sure, I didn't want to create it, but one simple example. One of my strongest beliefs, if I'm walking far distances or walk far distances, I will feel pain because because of my high arthritic ankles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you already had that fixed knowledge, that kind of belief / knowing, and so then when you tried to walk any distance, that would come true, presumably. There'll be no other alternative, because you already knew that was the only reality possible, right?
Yeah, I experienced that thousands of times. So this was my expectation. I will get pain if I do that.
Right, so you're bringing your expectations to life, really, even though they're not what you want, they're just the expectations you have.
And today I'm walking without pain, so that was not the whole truth.
That's amazing to hear, and that's so fabulous. I'm sure there are some people listening who are thinking, oh my God, how is that possible? How can we become pain-free? So part of it, you're saying, is looking at the narrative that you have, the story you're telling yourself around the pain.
Yeah, one part of it, for sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think I actually used a technique about 3 or 4 years ago, actually, when I was first coming into learning about counselling and mental health that way. I used a technique where every day I would write down 3 narratives that were in my day, 3 stories that were in my day that I was telling myself that may or may not be true. So I would just write them down, 3 things from my day that I had. It was a narrative that was strong in my day that I told myself was true. Write the 3 down without addressing them or trying to fix them. Then read them back and just gently ask myself with compassion, is this actually true? And what would the evidence be for this? And so many times I would look back at what I'd written and be like, wow, for a start, that doesn't have to be true. I've told myself it is truth, but it doesn't have to be. And for a follow-up, there is no evidence of it. And even if there was some kind of evidence of it, for example, say I'd told myself that somebody didn't care about me or wasn't interested in me, or I was boring to them and not worthy to them because they had cancelled a meeting with me, or they'd cancelled a meet-up for coffee. Well, the only thing that they'd done was cancel a meet-up for coffee. It didn't have any necessary relation to me being worthless. And in fact, it was far more likely to be something going on in their own life that had caused this choice. Particularly when behind it they were saying, oh, let's meet next week instead. So these stories we tell ourselves are really strong, and we can catch ourselves in it.
Yeah, this is interesting, and normally we don't have a look on these stories. What you did is great. And a second point, these stories are as old as we are. Most of the time we experience that in our childhood.
Yes. So this is something that's normal for us. We've normalized it within ourselves. So we may not even notice it.
We are used to think in this way, or to see the world around us like that.
I think that's also why it takes dedicated effort to actually get out of doing those kind of things, or to even recognize that we do those things. I think that I would say to anybody, like having a little book and carrying it around with you, and just, or the notes section of your phone, and just 3 points in a day really helps you to notice. What you said is unnoticeable almost.
And it makes so much sense, because if it's the point, if I'm creating pain to be seen, then it's interesting, or to feel like be seen or heard.
Right, so your body might be creating the pain to draw your attention, do you think? Or you're creating it to affect the direction you're taking life? Or what?
Creates pain to be seen by others.
Ah, interesting, yes.
Like the old childhood stories we talked about. If my mother or my father didn't have a look at me, or I felt like that.
Yes.
Maybe I'm creating pain today to be seen by my partner, by
That's
people
very true, because we
surround
often
me.
got extra attention when we were ill as children,
Yeah,
or when we
one
hurt
big point.
ourselves. Yeah, that's very, very true. And so we might be craving that attention and doing the only thing that we found reliably successfully achieved that. Yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, you know, through no fault of parenting and this kind of thing, but the thing is that if you are really busy with a task and your child says, come and play with me now, and you really can't, you've got to sort something out, then you would say, sorry darling, later. But actually, if the child had then fallen, you would, unless the task is holding the ceiling up, you would probably drop whatever the task is just for those couple of minutes to actually give them some, to reassure them after the injury. So yeah, that could definitely be a reinforcement of pain being an attention-seeking mechanism that we have no idea we carry forward.
Yeah. That was one part of my story. And the first time I heard that, I became angry. Because I was in chronic neuropathic pain. So incredible.
But someone tells you it's you, and you're like, whoa. Yeah.
And it took me a while to understand it's nothing bad with it, yeah. Could that be part of the game?
Yeah.
And if I am part of the game, I am able to change something.
Wow, that's beautiful. So the thing is, as hard as it is to then accept that you might have a controlling or chosen part, it gives you the choice. Like accepting that as part of your reality actually gives you a capacity you didn't have before. So in a way, opening up to that is like finding a secret key, a hidden key to your own issue. Wow.
And for sure, that's not the only key for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think very often that's one of the keys.
Yeah, so maybe it's more of an escape room scenario where there's lots of puzzles going on, and it's one of them. Yeah, exactly. Wow.
And it's interesting, or if we turn our view, we can, or we are able to see new chances.
Absolutely. So that's the thing, continuing on the escape room analogy, it will help you open your eyes to all the other clues and all the other places in which you could make change or move forwards or effect some kind of alteration in your experience going forwards. Just finding that one key and having some impact on your own chosen change can actually open the floodgates to more changes.
The next door and the next door will show up.
Beautiful. So even if it's a really minor part of what people are finding, just to take it on board, or even if it's actually not a part of what someone's doing, just to take on board that if it was, then they would have a control or they would have a choice going forwards, then that can shift their perception. That's really beautiful. It starts the snowball rolling at the top of the hill. Yeah, really nice. So when we've looked at a couple of things now that you looked at. What else did you find in your process of working with making chosen change to how you're experiencing this chronic pain?
Okay, how to making choice and chances. There has been a lot of things to go into the deepest point at the beginning. There has been traumata in my childhood, so it was really worthful or worth it.
Worthy, to go back.
To have a look at these topics, and also to... I don't really like the expression to heal them, but in the end it's true, yeah, to go through that topics.
I hear you. So like having a look and just checking out the concept of childhood trauma in people's pasts could actually help them to process or be able to move forwards in a different way in the now and future.
Yeah.
So even if people aren't aware of it, it might be just a worthwhile having, 1 or 2 sessions with somebody to talk it out, to see if there's anything there. Again, we normalize things, right? Particularly things from childhood. And we bury them as well. We bury them super deep.
But and side effect is most of the time we are living we are not living in the here and now, not in the future, in our past,
yeah, we're living in our past. Yeah, that's true. And we're kind of drawing those threads from the past through to the now and the future, and they kind of puppet us, gently. It's like strings that are still attached, and they're restricting our movements and is sometimes controlling our movements. We're getting repetition. I know I had a problem with this in my life where I almost felt like I didn't have choice about the ways I was acting because I was being puppeted by my past behaviors coming through. And it was only really by spending a little time, we don't want to get stuck in the past, but spending a little time looking back allowed me to first recognize that and appreciate why it was with compassion. And then at that point, you can start to loosen and notice and actually dissolve those strings that connect.
We reached a second key, awareness, to become aware of these things.
Awareness, yes. Moving with a greater awareness. Yeah, really, really important. I think also, do you think sometimes, because I've also had problems with chronic pain in my past, do you think also sometimes with chronic pain there can be a fear to look at it any deeper in case you make it worse? Because this was kind of a fear I had. I had a fear that if I spent time with it, I would only feel it more. But in some ways, I think it was by feeling it more in the short term that I dissolved it in the longer term.
Interesting question. For me, it was not the fear to get more pain, if I look deeper. It was the fear to look at that, what I expected to find, or what I was afraid of what will show up.
What was underneath, like things that were underneath the pain. Yeah. It was, so in that way, I guess the pain kind of was acting a little bit like, when people play into an addiction. I don't mean play as in like they're like a game, but I mean as in they've moved into an addiction because the addiction can cover what the kind of more intense issue that's beneath that they don't want to look at.
Yeah.
So then it's like a boundary between them and the issue, and even though it's a really difficult boundary, it still protects them from looking at the issue in that way.
For sure.
The underlying issue, yeah.
And also, if bad things happen to you as a child, you're not able to manage that.
Right.
So push it down. And I think I felt the fear of my childhood. Oh, I can't manage that. That's too much for me. I don't want to look at this.
Yeah, because children at that time don't have the capacity to process.
Never ever.
So they compress that and push it down. But also what children do is they always try to blame themselves for anything because they can only affect control over that. They can only affect choice over that. So they tell themselves it was them and push it down. So not wanting to look back at that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, at this age it makes perfect sense. But now, here and now. I'm an adult person, an adult woman, and there, I think there has to be a shift. Okay, that's old fear. Here and now, I'm not a child anymore. I'm a responsible person for myself. And I am able to have a look at that. It's over.
The ability to reflect on something as it was without feeling like you're in that situation again. And that's very difficult sometimes. We have to create safety for ourselves in this current moment and really focus on that and have techniques to draw our attention back to that. Because obviously as we start to look back at the childhood trauma, we can experience it sometimes like we're going back through it again. But as you say, adult now, and have different capacities and controls and can support yourself to not experience that again in reality, but rather just processing.
And like you said, it's okay to experience that again for a short time if I'm turning my story because of that.
I think it's really about, in my experience, it's about having some kind of safety or security that we can come back to, and cultivating a trust in that. So almost before we really go there, we need to cultivate the relationship with the coach or therapist that we're going to go down that avenue with, and they can help us as well, but we need to do it. Obviously they can walk beside us, but they can't walk for us. So cultivate in our lives elements that can bring us back to stability, and that could be, for me it was as simple as making sure that I'd gone to the shop and bought some ingredients so that I could cook a beautiful nutritious dinner and sit down in the evening and watch a movie in a safe space, so that after I'd processed something I was able to come back to that feeling of safety. Pets and animals can be really good as well. They're really important too. They've got this unconditional love, right? So that can be really a beautiful interaction to have after you've processed something like that as well. Supporting yourself. That's another one of the keys, maybe, that you're prepared and you recognize yourself as able to support yourself through this.
Or like you said, unconditional love. I can feel that unconditional love for me. I can make myself a gift.
Yes, exactly.
How lovely is that?
Well,
I
it's
don't
very
have
beautiful.
to wait for someone.
That's very true. I think it can be very difficult though, because I think also one of the deep-rooted compressions of childhood trauma can be an unworthiness wound, and in that we can disallow ourselves that unconditional love, and feel that we only have a right to love if we behave under certain conditions. So it's working to get to that point. Sometimes we have to work through something to get to a point where we can open up more. Right?
Yeah, for sure. But I think it's a good point to think about. Will I take self-responsibility or waiting the rest of my life for someone else to fulfill everything I'm suffering for?
It's true, and the thing is that there is never, unless you can actually do it for yourself, you could do it in conjunction with people, but unless you're actually doing it for yourself, then you always kind of, I always felt undercut by the fact that I needed someone else present to make things happen. So actually there is an incredible peace in solving things within and for yourself, and being helped and guided to that point and supported to that point, because then whatever happens going forwards, you feel that you have this foundation to come from where you support yourself.
And suffering becomes less extreme or less spooky.
Well, that's interesting because it's the difference between like pain and suffering. So the thing is that, I mean, pain, obviously we cut ourselves, we hurt ourselves, we have had a car accident as well, so we have accidents, and we suffer pain, yeah. But it's the ongoing suffering that we can actually have some kind of choice within, and we can have some kind of ability to affect a new future within. So you've come to the point now where, are you able to deal with the pain, or you don't have the pain, or is it a mixture of both?
I don't have the pain anymore.
That's amazing.
It's gone. And for sure, I'm a human being. If I'm sitting 19 hours in a plane, I'm the same like everyone else. A little bit back pain and feeling really, really uncomfortable. But it's not anymore these big suffering, incredible pain for days or weeks or months.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing point to reach, and it's good to reach it in a way that you're not non-human, you're not superhuman or kind of I mean, pain is also useful to us. You know, we wouldn't know that we shouldn't do things unless we felt pain during them. So not having pain, it can also be an issue in life. There's a genetic issue where people don't feel pain,
really
and
dangerous.
it's difficult to live. So we can welcome pain in that way, but we don't want it hanging around. So,
and I think the point is not to feel no more pain in a whole life. The point maybe is, if there's pain, I can accept it. Okay, I was sitting in a plane. Don't feel very well for today. And I don't play the old game I played for more than 20 years. In my head, there's not these circling thoughts anymore. Oh, there is pain. What will happen next? What if it's getting worse? All these old thoughts are gone also. For example, that happened before. I felt pain, focused on it, and my head was
spiraling downwards. So because I mean, I think that's the difference, isn't it, between having acute pain, which comes up in the moment and can be dealt with and has a purpose behind it, and then having that kind of chronic ongoing issue that just seems kind of to be enduring, whether it's a sharp pain or whether it's a dull pain. Just as long as it's chronic and it's enduring, then that's something that we don't want as part of our everyday lives so much, if we can help it. And it sounds like we can help it. It sounds like you've definitely managed to find a way forwards to helping it. So do you have any tips, any kind of top tips for people who are trying to go down a journey to understand their own pain and maybe move away from chronic pain?
Very simple tips everyone can do. Maybe accept what is right now instead of fighting very hard. Fight costs energy. It drains the batteries. Maybe that's not the best way. And a lot of people are fighting.
Fighting with their reality, and the thing is that the reality can't be changed by
with
just
the
fighting it.
Reality, and also the future in their head. Like I said before, what if it's getting worse? What will happen to me the next years? So on and so on. Yeah. Maybe just take the here and now and tell yourself, oh yeah, that's it. What it is now. Just now.
Yeah. And that removes the expectation for the future, and
Yeah.
just appreciating the now.
And acceptance is not giving up.
Yes,
I think
maybe
it's
people
also
think
one
that. Yeah.
one point. For me, it was helpful to realize I am the boss, not the
Yeah.
pain.
That's true. Yeah, it's.
I
not...
can decide what I focus on.
Yeah, that's a really strong point actually, because people feel like maybe, I mean, there's a lot of language in our dealing with medical issues where people are saying, you know, you can fight this, you know, fight this, and you can.
Yeah.
But the thing is that actually in all that fighting, are we causing a kind of cramping and a restriction, a kind of crunching and a holding, and, you know,
Pressure.
Yeah, pressure and a holding.
And it's okay to fight, but maybe it's worth it to see there's always a choice.
Yeah, it might be also about rather than focusing what you're fighting off or fighting away from, focusing on what you're fighting to get towards. So focusing on where you're going or where you want to go rather than where you've been or where you fear going. I actually went for snowboarding lessons, God, a good few years ago now. And I always remember what the guy told me. He said, just don't look where you don't want to go. Yeah. And there was an edge, there was a sheer drop, right? And so immediately, of course, I'm there and I'm moving and it's really good and it's fun. Immediately I start looking at the edge and I don't want to go over that edge. And so then I start moving towards it. And he's just behind me screaming, don't look where you don't want to go. And I was like, so I looked back to where I did want to go and everything just shifted. So, I mean, you know, I know that that's a physical sport-based example, but, you know, it's something that we have a choice to try at least to look where we want to go and not look where we don't want to go.
Sure, or we can also build a new vision, have a new goal, for example. If it's the greatest thing for me, or to make it real, a real example, in these days where I haven't been able to sit for 5 minutes anymore because of this neuropathic pain, I decided I will go back to Bali because that was the best time of my life up to now, and I will be back to Bali. That's it.
Yeah. But you're making a choice.
Yeah. I decided, and it was a long, long way to get to that point, but I was able, or I am able, to sit in a plane for 18 or 19 hours now. And I think one point maybe was this decision, and it was that wish was so big, I had to follow it.
And I think also sometimes you can combine the things that are physiologically helping you with the things that are kind of emotionally and psychologically helping you as well.
Sure.
Because I know that for me, I broke my neck nearly 15 years ago now. So I struggle with, and a few other things. So I struggle when it's very cold and windy. And so, you know, things like I'm going to spend some time in Bali is a really beautiful choice because of the climate here. The climate is warm and humid, and that's actually it suits the injuries I have. So it suits any of the pain that can come up, and it suits me having liberated free movement. So yes, I could look at it that, oh, well, I can't go and spend winter in Canada or Norway. I could look at it that way, that maybe that would be very difficult for me. Well, I haven't tried it, but maybe it would be very difficult for me. But the thing is that actually I can be open to where am I being redirected to? What is good for me? And opening up to that and making that the best it can be. Rather than constantly looking at, oh, well, I can't do this, I can do this. And in that, the pain obviously reduces.
Yeah.
Because I'm behaving in a way that's conductive to that.
You named a few of the keys we were talking about.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's been so lovely having you here today. I know that you have a book that you've written on this topic as well. So I think that's out at the moment in German only, but it will be translated in the future. Do you want to just say the name and the name it might? Do you know the name it'll have in English?
Let's try.
Okay.
In German, it's From Pain to Freedom.
Beautiful, yeah.
Pain-free. Yeah. And also how to understand pain.
Yes, because it's actually really about noticing and understanding that gives you the ability to change your relationship with pain going forward.
It's about my own story, my way out of chronic pain, and also part are interviews with researchers.
Lovely, yeah, pain researchers.
Yeah, neuroepigenetics, for example. Really interesting or fascinating people and results of their jobs, of the work they are doing.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been beautiful to have you here, and hope to see you again another time.
Thank you very much, Katie, and all the best for the people listening us.
Yes, and I hope anybody who's listening today who is looking for some kind of solution to their pain could maybe zip back through and find some of the tips and start putting those into practice. So that they can see if they can change their pain journey. And of course they can get in contact as well with either me or you.
Sure.
And I'll put the links underneath the podcast so that they can get in touch with us if they do want to talk more about this, because we've both had our journeys with chronic and enduring pain and releasing that so that we can live a better life day to day.
Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you.
We are all telling our stories, and we are all telling ourselves stories about it all. Are you brave enough to walk with me into hearing, considering and understanding the stories we tell? Join me next time, where we'll be considering more stories and illusions and stepping into creating the freedom we desire. Every moment, we are who we are choosing to be. You choose you, because your story matters.